The only thing better than a box showing up at the doorstep is realizing it has radio gear in it. The only thing better than that is breaking it open and getting it on the workbench to test it out. And the only thing better than that is taking it mobile, portable, and seeing just how well it works. Hey everyone, I'm Bob Katie for BMG, HOA Ham, and actually today I'm Whiskey Radio Papa Lima 305. That's right, this is a GMRS review. I want to say thanks to my friends over at Retevis for providing me with this for my use testing and so I can share it with you. This is the RA86. It's a 20-watt radio, tiny. Let's break it out of the box and see exactly what we're looking at. The only thing Retevis hasn't provided is the vehicle to install this in. Everything else is here. Programming cable, manual written completely in English. We have an antenna system. That's right, that's a GMRS antenna. It's tiny. We'll see how well that works. We have a power connector here to go into our power accessory of our vehicles. We have 4 metal dots with double-sided tape on them. No clue what that is. We'll figure that out as we go. A mounting bracket, mounting hardware. And then we have this speaker mic where all the controls are. Everything happens right here with this device. And then last but not least, what we have is this tiny radio itself. Those of you who know me understand I'm a minimalist, so I get real excited when I see gear that is this small. Those of you as ancient as me will recognize this adapter. That's like something we used to use in landline telephones. Good grief, when I was a kid, we had a party line. Probably 3 of you watching this video know what that meant. It simply plugs into the port on the radio itself, and then it has a gasket here that will move forward and get seated, and I guess that kind of makes this dust-proof. I can't imagine it makes it waterproof, but it protects the jack and that connection from getting dust and dirt on the inside. I do use this type of adapter here in the shack anytime I need to test something that needs a power accessory port. So this goes into my ham radio GMRS gear power divider, my distribution block, and then I can go in a number of different directions to get power to my radios. We're going to go ahead and hook this up to our dummy load and get some power ratings. I am going to put this antenna on a metal cabinet behind me. I can't imagine I'm going to get signals inside, but I'm going to give it a try. On channels 1 through 7 will be low power. Channel 1 comes in at 6.1 watts. Channel 7 comes in also at 6.1 watts. Channels 8 through 14 are receive only, and here we get an error tone and a beep. I'm going to power off to reset the meter here. Just to confirm, when we key up, we do indeed see 0 watts output. Error message, 0 watts out, and let's check that for channel 14 as well. 0 watts error message. Channels 15 through 22 are high power, and here we are on 15 at 16.5 watts. Channel 19 at 16.6 watts, and channel 22 also 16.6 watts. I did a brief transmit and receive test just to hear the quality of the sound, and when I did it, I was surprised to learn there's a speaker on the bottom of the unit. So using the handheld control here, you can either have speaker only to the radio body, speaker only to the speaker mic, or both. So you can kind of set this up however works best for you. Let's get a closer look at the functions of this handheld speaker mic. Everything happens right here. The top buttons will navigate between channels. And the first thing we need to do is get to that menu button and change that beep. You can change the volume here, but it really doesn't do much for the beep. This would be the volume of somebody you would hear transmitting through the radio. To change the user selectable features, you press the menu button and it takes you item by item, option by option. So let's find that ketone, and we're going to make that off. You long press the menu button again, and now that beep is gone. When you press the menu button again to go to your next selectable option, you can hear the tone is gone. You can also notice that it takes you right back to option 1. Let's take a look at the different screen colors that we have here. Backlight 1, no backlight. 4 is yellow, 3 is reddish orange, and 2 is the green that we've been using. And again, you long press and then that keeps whatever you selected. Let's choose something else here. And let's check the time out. How long will this stay on? right here. Nope, that's my timeout timer. Sleep time, here we go. I'm going to make this so that it never goes out, because while I'm showing you any of the other features or I'm testing the radio, I always want to see this on. So this is incredibly intuitive. I like how all the functions are here right in the palm of my hand. So one of the things I did mention is that this does do weather channel, NOAA weather channel. And all you need to do is press the WX button for weather.
Around 5 miles an hour. And now the extended forecast for the radio listening area. Friday and Friday night.
Given where I had that little tiny antenna sitting on top of a metal cabinet in the back of my shack, that's rather impressive, and I'll overlay a picture here so you can see that. The other thing that's interesting to me on something like this in any type of radio is how easy it is for me to scan. And with the press of a button, you can see I'm scanning through all the GMRS channels that this does receive. And I'll talk about that comment here in just a couple of minutes. So I can say this right now, from my perspective, the usability of this, the ease of use, it's pretty straightforward. Even for a new user to radio, GMRS radio, this is very intuitive. Within 3 to 4 minutes of holding this in my hand, I pretty much knew how to use it. And if you need something very specific, or you want to go to one of the more complex features, you would have to go into the manual and see how to do that, or just test until you figure it out. Very intuitive. I like this. This is Whiskey Radio Papa Lima 305, transmitting on the RB19 and listening on the Retevis RA86.
This is Whiskey Radio Papa Lima 305.
Transmitting on the RA86 to the RB19.
Testing 1,
2, 3. Let's talk about Retevis use of PL tones. You can see I have a CTC tone programmed here on GMRS channel number 2. I've changed the color of the backlight because it was green, and my camera, which has green screen settings, was having difficulty picking that up. So Retevis puts PL tones in all of their channels on all of their radio gear. So if I had a dozen of these in use in my group, and I had a half a dozen of this unit in use in my group, and I had some other radios, some GMRS HTs produced by Retevis, as long as no one changed the standard programming, they likely came through with PL tones programmed into them. Most other manufacturers don't do that. They just leave them blank so that all the gear can communicate together. Now, here's what changes. I'm going to pull this one out of the mix because if I keep too many radios on at the same time, the screeching becomes unbearable. Here's what this means. If you've got a dozen people out there using Retevis gear programmed from the factory with PL tones, competitive radios can hear you. You can't stop that. So when we say privacy, really all we mean is the other direction. When they transmit from their other non-Retevis gear, your group that owns the Retevis and is using the Retevis gear is not hearing them. Unless this person is deviant and they knew that you had Retevis gear and they went and they looked at what PL tones Retevis had programmed to the channel and they customized their radio accordingly, you're not going to hear them. And hopefully those people have something better to do with their life than to bother you. So privacy means they can hear you, not very private. You can't hear them. So if you got a dozen people in the mix on some type of outing, you're not being interfered with by other people's communication. You're just hearing each other. Now, let me try to demonstrate this for you. I'm going to put the microphone down here right on the workbench. My voice is going to become muffled, but I think that's necessary for you to see how this works. Before I do that, let me say this. I am going to wipe the PL tones out on this radio. I'm going to show you how to do that, and that way it's more standard to other radio gear around me. If you're in an area that has repeaters, they might have their specific PL tones. It's just like UHF, VHF, amateur radio, ham radio. Repeaters can put their own PL tones in so that they can restrict who's using their repeater service. So you would have to know what those PL tones are for the repeater channels and make sure that your radio and software is programmed accordingly. Let's first go from the BTEC to the Retevis. watch for the red button. Whiskey Radio Papa Lima 305. Now, you will see that the hand mic did register that there was a signal, but no sound. Whiskey Radio Papa Lima 305. Let me prove to you that there is volume. 4 and 5. I do have volume, but there's no sound coming through. Let's do the reverse. Whiskey. Okay. Don't even need to do that, but for a split second, you could hear the feedback. We have sound that is coming through to this when I'm keying up over here on this microphone. So they can hear me. I can't hear them. That's what these PL tones do. Remember those 4 little metal dots with adhesive backing? Well, I can't find anything in the instruction manual. Here's what my brain says they are. This antenna has felt backing, so it will protect your vehicle. It is also a magnet, so I believe these metal discs are to apply to some other surface so you can attach the antenna as needed. And remember I said we could get rid of those PL tones? See, we have a CTC tone on channel 2. The way that you do that is during power on sequence, you hold the PTT button and you hold the scan button. So with both of those depressed, we simply turn on the power button. And look at that, the CTC tone is gone. PL tones disappeared. So if you want to do a complete reset because you want to go back to the original way the radio came, there's also a sequence just that simple and straightforward in the manual. And I really love it when manufacturers give us ways to do simple, quick resets on gear. What are my final thoughts? Well, first of all, I don't get to use GMRS that much here in the Tampa Bay area. Surprisingly, there are not that many repeaters. If you're aware of any repeaters that have come online recently towards the Palm Harbor area, do let me know because it's time to update my knowledge base. The radio itself is high quality. It's Retevis quality. We've come to respect Retevis as a manufacturer in China that produces high quality amateur radio gear and GMRS gear. So I have no problem doing a review for them and recommending their radio. Everything feels quality about this. This is a solid case radio. It can be a separate unit. You can install it in your truck or your car on a permanent basis. In my case, I would put it next to a table, a working desk that's in the passenger seat next to me. So this is something that can go in a suitcase, a backpack. If you wanted to travel, you can set this up in a rental car so very easily. You could take this portable with you in your backpack and just carry with you any kind of Bio-NO 13.8 volt battery and operate this if that fits your use case. Remember, everything's about use case. So if you're looking for something that is small in size, easy to transport, but yet still full featured, this could be the radio for you. I can tell you if you are a brand new user to GMRS, this is so intuitive. It's not going to take but 10 or 15 minutes. You're going to know what to do by playing with this and referring to the manual. If you're an experienced GMRS user, you're going to be using this with 5 minutes out of the box. I hope you found this useful, friend. I'll talk to you soon, 73.